Nora Bennett arrived at Titan Racing feeling slightly out of place amidst the glistening race cars and impeccably dressed crew members. Her simple workout clothes, donned for comfort and practicality, clung lightly to her skin, still warm from the brisk walk from the nearby lot. She absent-mindedly brushed a few stray curls back into her ponytail as she took in the surroundings: gleaming chrome, sleek bodies of race cars, the air heavy with the smell of gasoline and rubber. Despite the elite atmosphere, she kept her eyes forward, unbothered by the quiet scrutiny of the team members who paused their work just long enough to measure her appearance against the polished backdrop. Nora was used to navigating through layers of assumptions. It was something she found oddly telling about people's true natures. In the midst of this subtly charged environment, Jake Lawson emerged, a tall figure, exuding confidence and, more pointedly, arrogance. His presence commanded immediate attention, his tone brusque and dismissive. "Hey, newbie," he shouted across the clamor of machinery. "Why don't you start by polishing the cars? Wouldn't want the boss's prized machines looking dusty." A few chuckles rippled through the group, enough for Nora to catch the derisive humor. Her gaze met his just for a moment, unruffled and steady. "Right away," she replied calmly, neither defensive nor yielding, before turning to make her way toward the main office. Her steps were steady, purpose guiding her more than the noise around her. She moved past shimmering vehicles, each one meticulously crafted, toward where it really mattered, the heart of Titan Racing. In her silence, beneath her unassuming exterior, lay the confidence of someone who knew exactly where she belonged. Nora Bennett walked away from Jake's dismissive laugh, her mind a serene haven amidst the chaos of clinking tools and revving engines. She couldn't help but smile faintly at the irony of her reception, a beginning punctuated with assumptions and overconfidence from those who didn't yet know her true role. As she approached the glass doors leading to Titan Racing's main office, she wondered at the journey that had brought her here, the blend of strategy, passion, and relentless persistence. Pushing through the doors, Nora was enveloped by the quiet efficiency of the office space, the hum of computers and soft footsteps contrasting sharply with the adrenaline-charged pit area. Just ahead, Claire Martin, the HR director, was waiting to welcome her. Claire, a sharp, amiable figure known for her ability to assess talent at a glance, greeted her with an enthusiastic smile. "Nora. Welcome to Titan Racing," Claire said, extending a welcoming hand. "We've been eagerly anticipating your arrival." "Thank you, Claire," Nora replied warmly, shaking her hand. "I'm excited to finally be here and start this new chapter." Together, they walked deeper into the office, the walls lined with photographs and memorabilia from past racing triumphs. They arrived at a spacious corner office, sunlit and tastefully minimalist, its windows offering a panoramic view of the bustling compound below. Nora couldn't help but feel a twinge of pride. This was the vantage point from which she would drive her vision for the team. As Nora settled into her office chair, Claire outlined the schedule for the day, mentioning the upcoming meeting where she would be introduced as the new team owner. Nora nodded, mentally preparing for the reactions this revelation would likely garner. Meanwhile, back in the pit area, Jake Lawson, smugly confident in his earlier remarks, lounged against a tool chest, recounting the interaction to several of his teammates. "I told that newbie to grab a rag and start polishing," he boasted. His tone carried an edge of condescension that seemed amplified by the crackle of a nearby radio. His companions laughed along, some genuinely amused, others following his lead for lack of a better course. "Always setting things straight, Jake," one of the mechanics chuckled, clearly used to the driver's personality. Beside him, another member raised an eyebrow, amused but cautious, sensing that they were all missing a part of the story. Unwittingly, the scene played out without awareness of the pivotal truth. Nora, the woman they dismissed so easily, held the reins of Titan Racing's future. But beneath the bluster and jocular indifference, whispers of uncertainty began to form, small as melting frost but undeniable as dawn. Inside the office, Nora began making herself familiar with thick binders of strategies and digital tablets full of team data, wholly focused on the tasks at hand. Her gaze softened as she navigated records of race strategies and financial sheets, reminding herself of the extensive groundwork she had done to reach this point. Her strategy was rooted in innovation, a plan to infuse Titan racing with new technology-driven methodologies and a fresh perspective on team dynamics. Her past, a blend of entrepreneurial ventures and successful campaigns in motorsport funding, had equipped her well for leading such an influential team. She was here to elevate Titan racing, not by fiat, but through infectious ambition and the power of well-cultivated skills. Throughout the morning, the narrative of her understated entrance quietly reverberated among the staff, and speculation began to stir clandestinely. The scheduled team meeting drew near, an inevitable crossroads that would shift the axis of presumptions among those like Jake, who reveled in his brief psychological victory. As the appointed time approached, Nora and Claire headed to the conference room. The space was abuzz with anticipation, people gathered in small clusters, sharing snippets of conversation about the day's sudden twist. When all eyes settled on the front, Claire stepped forward, gesturing for Nora to join her. "Thank you all for being here today," Claire began, her voice carrying authority and warmth. "I'd like to introduce Nora Bennett, who will not only be our new team owner but will also spearhead our efforts to innovate and grow." Gasps mingled with the shuffling of chairs as recognition spread through the room like a rising tide of disbelief. Jake, standing near the back, felt the color drain from his face as he realized the magnitude of his earlier mistake. Despite the instinct to retreat further into his aloofness, an unexpected chill of humility began to take root. Nora stepped forward, composed and with a personable smile that steadied the room. Her presence was the same as it had been earlier, unassuming yet undeniably authoritative. "I'm truly honored to be here," she began, speaking with a calm clarity that cut through the tangible tension. "Titan Racing has always been a powerhouse in motorsports, and I look forward to building upon its legacy. Together, we'll push boundaries, embracing technology and teamwork to outpace our rivals." As she spoke, the room gradually shifted, faces softened, crossed arms relaxed, and skeptical brows eased. The initial shock was giving way to acceptance infused with a hint of growing respect. With genuine engagement, Nora outlined glimpses of her journey, her insights resonating with those hesitant, yet hopeful ears. She wrapped up her speech with a nod of encouragement toward collaboration, emphasizing mutual respect and the shared drive for excellence. The team members, recalibrating their earlier assumptions, found themselves increasingly drawn to her vision, and an applause, tentative but genuine, filled the room. For Jake, the applause was a reminder not only of the day's stark lessons but of his own place in this transformative pivot. His brief moment of levity had collided with the reality of Nora's purposive presence, and he was left with a choice: to continue resisting, or to embrace the opportunity for growth alongside his formidable new leader. The Titan Racing team remained abuzz following the meeting, Nora Bennett's presence reshaping perceptions in the span of minutes. For those still digesting the morning's revelations, conversations swirled in the corridors and breakout areas, punctuated by nervous laughter and reassessments of first impressions. The line between speculation and respect subtly blurred, preparing the atmosphere for more significant shifts. As planned, Claire Martin had set up a private meeting with Jake Lawson to address the morning's events and to prepare him for Nora's leadership transition. The time approached for this conversation, and Claire's calm, collected approach melded efficiency with empathy. She knew that Jake's self-assured veneer masked deeper currents, a blend of pride, occasional insecurity, and the drive to be the team's leading figure both on and off the track. Jake trudged towards the HR office with the footsteps of someone approaching a reckoning. His usual confident stride subdued, his mind replaying scenes from the morning, the casual dismissal, Nora's unperturbed reaction, and her poised revelation as team owner. There was no denying the currents of unease that swirled within him, yet he held on to remnants of his confidence as a lifeline. Walking past a series of offices, the glass doors offered fragmented glimpses into the world of Titan Racing's executive machinery. He spotted Nora seated within one office, engaged in conversation with a couple of marketing executives, her gestures animated and inclusive. There was a remarkable contrast between the commanding aura she wielded and the simplicity of her presence. Arriving at the familiar HR door, Jake paused, drawing a steadying breath before stepping inside. The room was more formal than comfortable, and the walls were decorated with team accolades and recognition plaques that served as both inspiration and a subtle reminder of the stakes at play. Claire greeted him with her signature blend of warmth and professionalism. As Jake settled into the chair opposite her, she allowed a moment's silence, giving him the space to orient his thoughts. "Thanks for coming in, Jake," Claire began, her tone layered with intent. "I wanted to touch base about this morning and your role in the team moving forward, especially under Nora's leadership." Jake nodded, his expression betraying the mixture of embarrassment and curiosity within him. He knew the HR chat was less about reprimanding and more about aligning expectations, a critical element in racing, akin to gears meshing in motion. "I didn't realize who she was," Jake admitted, his voice carrying more humility than resistance. "I let assumptions get in the way. But I do see potential, and I respect her strategy for the team." Claire met his words with an encouraging nod. "Acknowledging that is an important step," she said, acknowledging the visible conflicts palpable in his demeanor. "Nora is committed to elevating this team, and her approach doesn't diminish anyone's contributions. It's about enhancing what makes Titan racing great." The minutes ticked by as Claire outlined proposals for leadership seminars designed to enhance teamwork, fostering an environment where trust and mutual respect were as high-octane as the race cars themselves. Jake listened, weighing his frustrations against the prospect of growth, confronting the need to adapt. Meanwhile, Nora wrapped up her discussion with the executives, their enthusiastic nods and exchanges hinting at a fruitful collaboration in future promotional endeavors. She stepped out into the hall, greeted by curious yet friendly glances from passing team members. As the official announcement had sunk in, their eyes carried an undercurrent of newfound respect, one she had every intention of earning. She wandered towards the conference room, a quiet sanctuary except during the meetings where strategic maneuvers were born. The room felt empty but energized, echoing the residue of the hearing moments earlier. Nora knew she had made an impression, and her mind was already charting courses beyond the morning briefing, a journey anchored in her unwavering belief that collaborative growth was the driving force behind sustainable success. Claire and Jake emerged from the HR meeting, the conversation bringing with it a redefined dynamic between driver and leader. As they approached Nora in the hallway, the moment served as an epilogue to assumptions past, a reminder that each lapse in judgment presented an opening for self-improvement. "Jake," Nora said, inclining her head in greeting, her voice devoid of condescension. "I hope our paths can push Titan racing to new heights." Jake's reply was measured, his expression transitioning from defensive to conciliatory. "I'm on board, Nora. Looking forward to seeing where we can drive this team." For both, it was a handshake significant in its sincerity, an affirmation of mutual resolve, signaling an unofficial beginning to a redefined partnership. Nora knew Jake possessed potential energy that, when aligned with her vision, could fuel forward momentum far beyond laps around a racetrack. Throughout the compound, the narrative of Nora's unpretentious yet potent leadership began to ripple, teasing at possibilities previously unimagined under customary constraints. Names whispered with tentative optimism as executives, engineers, and junior staff processed this shift, repositioning their allegiances and evaluating their roles. Nora found herself walking past pockets of animated dialogue, the air imbued with speculation yet largely grounded in respect. As the workforce settled back into the rhythm of operations, brief electrifying moments of recognition passed between team members, a recalibration of hierarchies and a renewed focus on shared ambition. Each narrative twist was a cog propelling the race towards a shared goal, each realization laying the groundwork for an environment where innovation and collaboration could thrive. For Titan Racing, these moments of self-reflection were as crucial as their race days, as necessary as breath, engines humming with renewed purpose as they awaited the green light on circumstances yet to unfold. With the dust from the morning's revelations beginning to settle, Nora Bennett's role as the new force at Titan Racing unveiled a future laden with potential. Her steps through the facility were no longer those of an outsider, but of someone who now had the visible command, acknowledged by nods and echoes of "Good morning, Nora," from team members she passed. It was the subtle beginnings of building trust and respect, a delicate process she knew required time and consistency. The early afternoon sun cast long slants of light across the floor-to-ceiling windows of the main office. Inside, the atmosphere hummed with a renewed focus as the team transitioned from stunned silence to business-as-usual efficiency. Yet, beneath this surface normality, the air thrummed with an unspoken curiosity about Titan Racing's rejuvenated path. Back in her office, Nora was joined by a few senior staff members, Claire among them. They were seated around a table scattered with architectural sketches, engineering blueprints, and interactive screens glowing with data. This meeting was more than routine, it was a session designed to delve into the very heart of her strategic vision for the team. Claire introduced Nora to the rest of the group, each having heard whispers of her previous successes yet curious to hear her narrate the story. Nora began with a condensed account of her career trajectory, providing context to those seated around the table. She spoke of her earlier days, assembling a small team for an ambitious tech startup focused on automotive engineering solutions. The team, initially composed of just 3 driven individuals, had grown under her guidance into a pivotal player in the industry, influencing major automotive design changes through innovative technologies. Her narrative included anecdotes of international negotiations, intimidating yet rewarding encounters with high-profile sponsors and racing magnates. She shared lessons gleaned from failures, victories, and the myriad in-between struggles that had honed her leadership philosophy, to lead by example, to cultivate an environment where innovation was born from collaboration, and to remain accessible, allowing transparency to guide relationships. Faces around the table reflected a growing understanding and appreciation. Her journey wasn't merely about her achievements, it was a testament to her resilience and ability to inspire those around her. "But why the casual attire?" asked Steve, one of the senior engineering leads, voicing a question that had intrigued many since the announcement. Nora chuckled softly, nodding at Claire for calling the question. "Today was about perspective," she explained. "I wanted to see who acknowledged underlying value versus merely what's on display. It was also a bit of practicality. I came straight from a charity race event earlier this morning, one where simplicity was the dress code," she added with a smile. Their understanding deepened, seeing not a leader willing to dress down, but a strategic mind unafraid to challenge norms and expectations, even in the subtleties of attire. Her explanation was met with nods of agreement, recognition that Nora's leadership wasn't rooted in conventional displays of authority but rather in actions and decisions. Her ethos resonated with those who now saw her not just as a figurehead, but as a catalyst for change. Ideas buzzed through the meeting as Nora guided the team in examining potential enhancements in engineering designs and incorporation of cutting-edge technology. Her concepts weren't just theoretical, they were informed, incisive, and directly applicable, drawing on her previous challenges and milestones. Meanwhile, the rest of Titan Racing's infrastructure pulsated with the life of an entity poised for growth. Among employees, these shifts weren't mere rumors anymore but currents of evolution set in motion under the stewardship of a leader whose depth was merely glimpsed earlier. Elsewhere, Jake Lawson had retreated to the training suite, using the solitude to focus his energies and ruminate over the morning's events and Nora's impact, both immediate and potential. The rustle of gym equipment accompanied his thoughts, catalyzing agility that would hopefully match his cerebral pivot. His temporary restriction from racing duty had seeded a drive, not one motivated by damage control, but from a place of genuine curiosity kindled by Nora's demeanor and strategic implications. Collaboration was unfamiliar territory, yet an essential path he now elected to navigate. As the day pressed onward, the palpable change in atmosphere was undeniable, a lived reality in every corner of Titan Racing's estate. The grounds were charged with ambition, as mechanical clinks and murmured discussions intersected with fresh aspirations. Towards evening, Nora returned to the lounge area, the transitional space she had first encountered that morning in markedly different circumstances. The large windows reflected the waning light, painting a canvas of muted gold over chrome and steel. Jake stood by the simulator, its idle hum forming a fitting soundtrack to this inevitable postscript. Noticing her approach, he paused, a shadow of the morning's bravado tempered with respect. There was something in his stance, openness, perhaps for feedback, perhaps for guidance. "Nora," he acknowledged her presence, now devoid of sarcasm. "I wanted to discuss your approach. I know now that I need to understand better where it can take us." Her response was as measured as her leadership style. "Thank you, Jake. The team's strength lies in adaptability and shared drive. Let's realign goals and see where this new approach can take us," she offered, her tone inviting collaboration rather than dictating terms. The dialogue was an olive branch, a bridge beginning to span over initial missteps and misconceptions. It embodied Titan Racing's invigorated ethos, the promise of uncharted possibilities waiting on the other side of understanding and mutual respect. As the evening drew to a close, Nora's gaze swept over the facility once more. This burgeoning respect felt like the dawn of something meaningful. Tomorrow, the pieces set in motion would continue to unfold. With the day almost behind her, Nora reveled in the promise of the journey yet to begin. As the morning sun spilled golden light over Titan Racing's compound, the balance of power and respect within the team had perceptibly shifted. It wasn't just Nora Bennett walking through the facility, it was the presence of leadership adjusted and reshaped, aligning with a collective vision poised for growth, challenge, and innovation. The crisp air carried the vivacity of renewed purpose. Engineers moved with increased camaraderie, sharing insights and laughter amidst the serious business of preparation. Mechanics worked more seamlessly, a dance of hands and wrenches choreographed by familiarity and competence. In the background, the rhythmic hum of engines became the heartbeat of a team unified, attuned to Nora's calls for progress. Jake Lawson stood by the rows of meticulously maintained cars, poised to undertake drills under this new regime. Despite his temporary suspension from active racing duties, his renewed zeal became palpable through focused discussions with colleagues about optimizing vehicle performance. Conversations that once bordered on mundane now crackled with analytical exchange, motivated by the understanding that their leader valued insight and creativity over mere obedience. Meanwhile, Nora's calculated assessments of her environment were showing tangible dividends. In the main office, possibilities branched like complex circuits. She reviewed plans with Claire Martin, jotting down points and ideas as the two parsed through schedules, sponsorship opportunities, and infrastructure investments. It was in this moment of plotting Titan Racing's future that Claire handed down a report, a behavioral observation and response sheet tailored meticulously after Jake's earlier indiscretion, marking his journey across the spectrum of team dynamics. Jake's taking the feedback constructively, Claire noted, her approval clear. He's actively participating and engaging with the other team members. Nora nodded, a flicker of acknowledgement sparking in her eyes. It was clear they were reaching deeper into tenancy rooted in potential, a testament to her belief that leadership was as much about building people as it was about developing strategies. Days passed, each one contributing to a mosaic of rising momentum and strategic reinvention. The team, under Nora's guidance, tackled projects with newfound fervor. Talk of race strategies included revolutionary technology integration, discussions on sponsorship no longer simply transactional, but creative marketing ventures that aimed to strengthen Titan's brand in the cutthroat world of racing. The pit area, a crucible of activity, now echoed with mutual respect, a seamless extension of the ethos Nora had predicated upon humility, ambition, and collaboration. Jake Lawson, once overconfident and brash, was now visibly more contemplative, his banter more tempered yet nuanced, reflecting an earnest willingness to listen and learn. The transition was slow, but his redemption was becoming an emblematic story of the team's transformation. In a pivotal moment of synthesis, Nora decided to address the collective over an evening gathering. Standing atop a simple podium, she let her gaze travel over the team, faces marked by diverse histories and talents, all tied into the shared journey of racing glory. "Everyone's contributions are what make Titan Racing impactful," she began, her voice confident yet underscored with warmth. "As we steer the future together, remember this, our victories are built on more than just speed. They're built on innovation, respect, and above all, unity." Her words lingered, reaching into the hearts of those who had witnessed and contributed to these changes. The anticipation of races no longer lurked merely in pursuits of personal glory. They stood for communal achievement, a cherished belief that emphasized Titan racing as a symbol of team excellence. With the gathering disbanding as dusk painted over the horizon, Nora engaged with several team members, fostering a culture encompassing open dialogue and appreciation. Her interactions were marked by authentic engagement, spurring casual interactions loaded with friendly quips, intellectual challenges, and hearty laughter. And though Jake maintained a quieter presence, he periodically intersected with Nora, absorbing insights and tacit bloodlines of knowledge, nurturing the desire to enhance his own narrative within the team. The consequences of Jake's earlier actions infused his journey. Leadership training and active team participation transformed his standpoint, embedding the maturity of a man reborn into the same but evolved narrative. With each passing day, his development signalized not only to Nora but to the team that aptitude and attitude beget aspirational growth. Before closing time, the compound quieted, save for the idling engagement of last stragglers nursing early plans for tomorrow. Nora walked through the open grounds, her path navigating a network of deliberate foundations and emergent dreams. Her pace was assured, each step resonant with her own conviction laid bare within the tapestry of Titan racing. As she approached the exit, she felt a gentle call for reflection, a path lined with high-tech achievements and human stories only just beginning to converge. Pausing, she watched the fading light, the silence encapsulating the narrative of the day, a vivid playbook of audacity interwoven with potentials waiting at the pit lanes lined for tomorrow. The figure beside the exit always caught her interest, Jake, on his own trajectory of reflection, if modestly delayed by the morning start. He glanced up as she acknowledged him with a nod, a sign of acceptance lying between challenge and companionship, a simple recognition within their shared odyssey toward destiny. "Tomorrow's a fresh page, Jake," she offered, voice a blend of expectancy and assurance. He responded with a silent nod, a world of unspoken determination and commitment to facing both the sunrise and track anew, eyes reframed to match the vision set forth by his decisive guide. Nora's commitment to lead with humility and collaborative passion as she walked behind the commanding roar of Titan racing was as firm as the asphalt beneath her steady gait. Having made her mark, she now saw a horizon not as an end but as a panoramic canvas, unrevealed, unwritten, and unequivocally in her command. The facility lay silhouetted against the closing sky, and within its bounds lay the genesis of triumph, sprung into bright arc by the promise of each rising dawn. And with that conviction, she left with the assurance that Titan Racing's path had been singularized by unity, a legacy that, much like the cars she steered, propelled her ever forward.